On Thursday, former CIA Director Mike Pompeo was confirmed as Secretary of State by the Senate. Over Easter weekend, Pompeo conducted a secret meeting with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. For more now, we turn to Brian Becker, National Coordinator with the Anti-War Answer Coalition. So, Brian, we may be closer to seeing an official end to the 68-year-old war between the two Koreas. How did leadership from both Moon and Kim bring Korea to this point?
That was the decisive feature here. Kim Jong-un on January 1st offered Moon Jae-in and the South Korean people an effort to go forward to build a sort of a rapprochement, a détente, certainly to meet together and to avoid any provocations, as they put it. The next day, Moon Jae-in reciprocated. The next day after that, it was clear that the North Koreans were willing to join South Korea in a unified peace team at the Olympics. It's their momentum that has created this new reality, and it makes it very hard, whether it was Mike Pence at the Olympics or Donald Trump later, to say no to this. So that's what they're doing. They're moving fast. They're creating momentum, so Washington can't stop this.
It's clear Korea is asserting itself as capable of dealing with its own affairs, though Moon and Kim now say they're ready to meet with the U.S. and China. Why is it significant that peace is being dictated by the two Koreas at this point? Have they ever been able to operate so independently?
Well, first of all, the South Korean government was the creature of the United States. The United States reoccupied Korea in place of Japanese colonial troops, literally. And from that time on, it constructed a South Korean military edifice. It was a military dictatorship until the late 1980s. Even still today, all these years later, the United States still has 30,000 troops in South Korea. So South Korea's had very limited sovereignty, while North Korea is free of foreign troops. There hasn't been any foreign troops in North Korea since 1948 or after the Korean War, when the Chinese volunteers came in. So South Korea is always looking over its shoulder. Does Washington give its blessing? In this case, from the Trump administration, they're getting a positive signal. Trump sent Mike Pompeo to meet with Kim Jong-un or meet with North Korea. He was surprised that Kim Jong-un actually came into the meeting. So they have limited its sovereignty, but South Korea is trying to assert its own sovereignty. But even Moon Jae-in knows that this, too, will be limited. Why do you think this is coming at this moment from the Trump administration? Well, I think Trump is beset with domestic problems. Certainly, if he had some big breakthrough on the diplomatic front, it would help him domestically. It changes the subject. War in Syria last week or peace in Korea this week takes the attention off of the very deep crisis within American political establishment for Trump. The other thing is that DPRK has changed the balance of forces by having perfected their missile technology, the ICBM technology, and even a hydrogen bomb. It changes the relationship of forces with the United States. The U.S. has to actually negotiate. They can't make North Korea go away. And finally, I have to ask, since this news is coming out of Korea the same week, President Trump slammed the Iran deal once again while meeting with French President Macron. A deal he's promised to decertify. If you're North Korea watching this, or South Korea for that matter, would you trust the United States as a negotiating partner, and how does that impact the peace talks? Well, there's no possible way that North Korea could ever trust the United States. North Korea was, in fact, annihilated by the United States between 1950 and 53. No one's looking at Donald Trump or the U.S. government through rose-colored glasses. There's no idealism here. And they see what's happening with Iran. But what's the conclusion that DPRK will draw? Iran does not have nuclear weapons. The United States can renege on its earlier agreements and perhaps go into a confrontational mode. If anything, this reinforces the DPRK's understanding that it must have a military deterrence in order to bring the U.S. to a negotiating table. Maybe not in good faith, but at least with a knowable outcome. And we will have to leave it there. Brian Becker with the Answer Coalition. Always appreciate your insight. My pleasure.